Phyrexia, All Will Be One, and its Alchemy set have been out for a while. But what are the scariest creatures in those sets for the Momir format? Did you want to know? Probably not. The literal red-headed stepbrother of the Phyrexian horrors. Phyrexian Harvester doesn't quite bring the same amount of pressure as his standard legal brothers, and in terms of Momir madness, the advantage it gives you is not quite repeatable. At the same time, you're also going to be seeking from a very small pool of impact spells that are in your deck by default, and you probably have 5 mana to work with. It may be a one-time advantage, but it's one that's going to count. In a low removal format, getting Miklos out on turn 3 is such a large swing that it practically ends the game right there, if the defender is already on the back foot. He takes some effort to manage, but when you do it properly, he's almost impossible to block, forcing the opponent into making some very difficult decisions and earning card advantage in the process. Giving all your creatures first strike and +1/+0 means an absolute nightmare for the opponent in terms of combat math. The last ability is probably never going to get used, but it doesn't matter at all. It's a shame his ability doesn't work on defense, but on second thought, maybe that's for the better. But hey, Might Overseer's own first strike still works. Doesn't need anybody else to help him out. Speaking of first strike, we packed first strike, death touch, and constant card draw in a single package. The other abilities may come in handy as well, but for the most part, Glither is just drawing new cards every single turn, while daring the opponent to block her. Did you know that about 1/3 of all creatures in MTG Arena have some sort of ETB interaction? You would if you made stupid videos like this one. Chances are, Adash is going to do her work, and she's going to do it more than once. And guess what? A lot of the ways you can get rid of creatures in Momir Madness involve ETB abilities. All in all, it's fair to call her one of the most annoying creatures you can face, even if she doesn't kill you off immediately. Not many creatures can make someone groan the way this old favorite from New Phyrexia does when it drops on turn 4. More than just being a 4-turn clock, the feeling of sheer annoyance when you have to deal with this thing is, on its own, more than enough to make it one of the scariest creatures to face in Momir. Just being a 5/5 flyer for 4 mana with no drawbacks would have made Phyrexian Vindicator an outside candidate for this list, except you also simply cannot beat him in combat. If there's one thing the white version of the Obliterator doesn't do as well as the original, it's that he kills you so directly, you don't even have the time to feel annoyed. If there's such a thing as a perfect creature, Atraxa Grand Unifier is pretty darn close to it. Every attack is a potential swing of 14 life, and she doesn't even have to tap when attacking, so she can easily stay behind and block pretty much everything. Oh, and she draws you at least 1 card, likely 2, maybe even 3 or 4, the moment she hits the board. Of all the creatures on this list, Atraxa may be the one that you want to see the most if you have fallen behind, because she immediately stabilizes the game and is almost impossible to get through. As a bonus, Atraxa costs 7 mana, which is a natural point to aim for in Momir. If the board turns into a stalemate, there's a better chance of getting Atraxa than there's of getting most other creatures. Speaking of 7 mana, here's one that pretty much ends the game right then and there. Supandro basically makes it impossible to lose in combat. Reach and Indestructible are kind of nice bonuses, but most likely the opponent is going to be figuring out whether to press the concede button the moment Supandro hits the battlefield. If there ever was a creature that was meant to be the god of Momir Basic, Moondrag would be it. That, and maybe a Azorius Guildmage. Everything you summon with Momir is doubled, and remember that Moondrag is going to drop on turn 4, usually before you have the means to deal with it. Even Atraxa may not be able to help you when the opponent is easily dropping twice the number of creatures turn after turn. That's it for the 10 scariest creatures in Phyrexia, All Will Be One for Momir Madness. Are you excited to see them in action in the format? Keep an eye out on Magic Arena's event schedule. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.